Well, hello and welcome. It's Bron from Nurse Power here. I'd like to welcome you to our free online seminar with Nurse Power. This is a monthly event, and each month we will be looking at one aspect of self-care for nurses, talking about issues that come up and solutions to support and assist you to be the best version of you can be. So as I said, hi, I'm Bron Watson. I'm the founder of Nurse Power, and like you, I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. And like you, I am very well aware and I live the issues faced by many nurses across the globe today. So not sure if you've been on a seminar online before. So at the moment, you're on mute. Have a look at the right-hand side panel and you will see a small green hand. If you click on that hand, it lets me know you can hear me okay. And if you have a question, you will also notice a box to ask questions, so please feel free to write your questions in the box and I will endeavour to answer them for you. Otherwise, I will get back to you either using email, social media or the Nurse Power website. So today our topic is on motivation for nurses. So welcome to our session. We're going to be looking at motivation, what it is, how it is thought of professionally, why we have it, and how to keep it. We as human beings are generally inconsistent. So things happen in life, good things, bad things, and things in between. It's how we manage ourselves at that time of uncertainty that drives our actions and behaviour. So as a nurse, both professionally and personally, we all have many goals and targets that we want to reach. And let's face it, some are much easier to get than others. So I've put a small Winnie the Pooh saying up here for you. So perhaps the best thing to do is to stop writing introductions and get on with the book. So what that is saying is let's take a look at what's that idea or that concept and getting it out of your head and simply getting on with it. I'm going to read to you a small scenario. You may relate to it, you may not, but I'd like you just to have a quick listen to the scenario about motivation. Mary is a nurse and has over a decade of experience. She has worked in a number of units and, to be honest, is bored. She's unfulfilled and she's looking for something more. Mary has a reasonable social life, enjoys bushwalking and going out for a drink with her friends. Due to the shift work, Mary has taken to convenience food in the past few years and has gained quite a few kilos more than she would like. Mary has thought about starting her graduate diploma in nursing, has looked up a few universities who do external studies, but she has not applied. Mary tells herself that she has no time and doing shift work is just so exhausting. That part is very true. With every passing day, Mary's boredom grows so that she's now finding it difficult to get up in the morning and even more difficult to motivate herself to get to work. Needless to say, she is unhappy in her career. Mary has recently had her appraisal and her manager has encouraged her to improve her motivation and her effort because it's become noticeable that her heart and her head is not in the job. If it isn't hard enough to get up every day and go to work, now we have to concern ourselves with being motivated with all the tasks and our to-do list. And you know what? There's a lot of us out there who have a lot on their to-do list. Is there really room for another item on that list? How can we fit it all in? The answer is yes, it is possible, because motivation is a really important concept. With so many people worried about their jobs, the economy, and their safety, motivation plays a key role in how they deal with all of that is going on around them. So as with most nursing or education sessions, I am going to quickly give you an introduction or objectives of what we're going to be covering this session. So we are obviously going to be looking at motivation. We're going to look at it from where it's come from in the past and where it is at the present. We're then going to look at the 3 motivation killers and what to do about them. There's 3 primary reasons why we lose motivation. Then we're going to look at 5 steps to boost your motivation. So some really practical things that you can put into place today to help you with your motivation. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving forward. I know that all too well. Not sure if some of you ride bikes, but I do ride my bike, excuse me, with my little boy in the back, and I certainly have to keep moving forward. Motivation as a theory and practice has played a central role since the 20th century. The work of motivation theories and research, the golden age, which was in the mid-60s, became prominent, and in nursing it really rose to prominence in the 1970s with the work of Meyer and McCloskey, because the focus there was on prediction of nurses remaining in the job and persistence of work. So really, is it any different in terms of what they were examining then to what they're examining today? These theories are based on the well-known assumption of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, and also on Hacknam and Oldham in 1975. And what they of course looked at is that there were certain needs exist, and that the goal of the individual is to satisfy those needs. To focus here on taking into consideration those needs, further studies were conducted on nurses' motivation, but they were mainly concentrating on the importance of the optimal work environment that would facilitate self-motivation. So what they wanted to look at is the work environment, what they could do with the work environment that would facilitate nurses' self-motivation while they were there. And that concept was based on Herzberg's job enrichment theory and also Hackman and Oldham's job characteristics theory. And from there, the formulation of motivational strategies, which would actually directly look at the increase or the decrease of nurses' productivity. For those of us who are working on the floor, believe me, the productivity is there. In the 21st century, the contemporary work of motivation theory and research incorporates all of those theories. It addresses the needs, personality, values, cognition, affect, the environment, and behaviour. And I have a definition of motivation here. Just get ready for it. Motivation is a values-based, psychobiologically stimulus-driven inner urge that activates and guides human behaviour in response to self, other, and environment, supporting intrinsic satisfaction and leading to the intentional fulfilment of basic human needs, perceived needs, and desired goals. So we're looking at human drives, the perceived, what you perceive that you need, then of course what you desire. So then we're actually going to have a look at this. Motivation comes from within. Simply, motivation cannot be imposed. It comes from within. In other words, we motivate ourselves. Motivation lives inside of you. Nobody can motivate you to do anything. You motivate yourself. There's no such thing as a motivated person versus an unmotivated person. There are only those who bring their motivation to life, and there are those, of course, who sleep through theirs for years. So if the true source of motivation lives inside you, you can tap in to what you desire, and you can control what flows within and without. So what that means is that knowledge is not the problem. You know, all of us, or many of us, we've obviously all studied, depending on whenever you trained, you still had a lot of information, a lot of learning that you went through to become who you are. So that means that knowledge is not the problem. What the problem is, it's the lack of motivation to do what we need to do, that slows us down. The motivation to have that conversation, to write that email, to put what you have learned into practice today in your day, or to change the way you do something for the better. It's completely up to you. In recent years, there has been greater research into emotional intelligence in the healthcare, business and academic realms. To some, this would seem almost instinctive. However, there is evidence to link emotional intelligence with the effectiveness in working with others. Emotions are important and can change thought and attention, motivate behaviour, and alter physical feelings. So what they're saying is that emotions influence how people think. We already know this, of course, but what people think about, and is also essential for how people make appropriate decisions, taking the best possible action to solve a problem, and how to cope with change, but also to succeed. Some individuals have argued that when making decisions and taking actions, emotions are just as important as intellectual thought. In a profession like nursing, we're faced with life and death decisions every day. And what they're saying is that we should be gathering data about our emotions at the time, and they are considered to be critical. Improved decision making and problem solving is one reason that emotional intelligence has been identified as a characteristic of effective nursing performance. So what they're saying is the more positive your emotional intelligence, or the more positive your motivation is, the better or more effective your nursing performance will be. We'll have to see on that one. So what we've got here is no matter how many mistakes you make or how it will slow your progress, you are still way ahead of everyone who hasn't even tried. Motivation is a desire and action towards goal-directed behaviour. Motivation has two approaches, intrinsic and extrinsic. I can't say that very well. It may be something that is within you, or it may be something that you want to motivate someone else to do. Intrinsic motivation is the desire for change that comes from within the individual. The person may want to learn something because he or she is interested in it. Another person may want to accomplish a goal or a task because it's something that he or she feels competent in and enjoys doing. So that's why you're motivated to do something that you enjoy, obviously. On the other hand, extrinsic motivation comes from outside the person. They use the words like bribe and prize and reward, but for you and I, we know that as our fortnightly or monthly pay slip. It's an extrinsic motivator that keeps us going. But for the purpose of today's session, we're going to be looking at intrinsic motivation. So what influences our level of motivation, how to get it, and how to keep it in this journey of life. For example, if you have a deadline looming, instead of doing your work, you're fiddling with the miscellaneous things. You might be checking emails, social media, watching YouTube videos, surfing blogs and forums. You know you should be working, but you just don't feel like doing anything. And we know that as the procrastination phenomenon. When we procrastinate, we squander away our free time and put off important tasks we should be doing until sometimes it's either too late or we cause ourselves a lot of stress. And when it is indeed too late, we panic and we wish we got earlier. We browbeat ourselves and go, why didn't we do it? The chronic procrastinators I know have spent years of their life looped in this cycle, delaying putting off things, slacking, hiding from work, facing work only when it's unavoidable, but then repeating that loop over and over again. It's a bad habit that eats away and prevents us from achieving greater results in life. So the three primary reasons for the loss of motivation are lack of confidence, lack of focus, and lack of direction. As a nurse, there is so much that's out of our control with shift work, who we work with, staffing numbers, and even when we have our days off. I hear a lot, I don't have enough time. The problem here is that the reason to make the positive change is not clear enough. There's not a big enough why. Why would you want to make the change? We're so busy doing the do, and nurses are extremely proficient and outstanding at doing the do. But what we don't do is we don't actually do the do for ourselves. We choose not to stop and spend a few minutes of quality time addressing these issues for ourselves. So lack of confidence is if you don't believe you can succeed, what's the point of trying? The lack of focus is if you don't know what you want, do you really want anything? And lack of direction, if you don't know what to do, how can you be motivated to do it? So it makes absolute sense why these are the primary reasons why we have loss of motivation. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn these three around, and I'm going to show you how to make them into a positive. Boosting confidence. For those of you on Facebook, you'll recently seen that we're doing a grateful week at the moment. So what are you grateful for today? And believe it or not, that's actually got to do with confidence. So the first motivation killer is the lack of confidence. When this happens to me, It's usually because I'm focusing entirely on what I want and neglecting what I already have. When you only think about what you want, your mind creates explanations of why you aren't getting it. This creates negative thoughts. Past failures, bad breaks, and personal weaknesses dominate your mind. You become jealous of your competitors and you start making excuses for why you don't succeed. In this state, you tend to make a bad impression. You assume the worst about someone and you lose self-confidence. So there is a way to break this, and what we do is that we want to get out of this thought process in the form of gratitude. Believe it or not, being grateful boosts your confidence. Set aside some time to focus on everything positive in your life. Make a mental list of your strengths, your past successes, and your current advantages. We tend to take our strengths for granted and we dwell on our failures. By making an effort to feel grateful, you'll realize how competent and successful you already are. This will rejuvenate your confidence and get you motivated to build on your current success. It might sound strange that repeating the things you already know can improve your mindset, but you know what? Amazingly, it's very effective. The mind distorts reality to confirm what it wants to believe. The more negatively you think, the more examples your mind will find to discover to confirm that belief. When you truly believe in you and that you do deserve success, your mind will generate ways to achieve it. The best way to bring success to yourself is to genuinely desire to create value for the rest of the world. So that's boosting confidence. We're then going to look at tangible focus. The second motivation killer is the lack of focus. So then, of course, we want to make it tangible. You need to be able to see it. How often do you focus on what you don't want rather than on a concrete goal? We normally think in terms of fear. I'm afraid of being poor. I'm afraid no one will respect me. I'm afraid of being alone. The problem with this type of thinking is that fear alone is not actionable. Instead of doing something about your fear, it feeds on itself and drains our motivation. And I can say I have been in that spot many a time over the years, so I can totally understand this. If you are caught up in fear-based thinking, the first step is focusing that energy on a well-defined goal. By defining a goal, you automatically define a set of actions. If you have a fear of poverty, create a plan for income. If you're going back to school or back to TAFE or back to university, or you'd like to obtain a higher paying job, or developing even a profitable website, the key to moving from an intangible desire to concrete measurable steps is through the tangible focus. By focusing your mind on a positive goal instead of an ambiguous fear, you put your brain into work. You instantly begin devising a plan for success. Instead of worrying about the future, you start to do something about it. This is the first step in motivating yourself to take action. When you know what you want, you become motivated to take action. And you know, guys, your brain has difficulty determining something from reality, so from a situation that you're actually in and experiencing versus an experience that your brain is telling you is happening. So when you're actually when you've got that movie going on in your head, your brain's finding it very difficult to determine what is actually happening and what is happening in your mind. So it cannot distinguish between the two. So the final place in the motivational puzzle is direction. If focus means having an ultimate goal, direction is having a day-to-day strategy to achieve it. A lack of direction kills motivation because without an obvious next action, we succumb to procrastination. An example of this is a person who has commenced a nursing course or a postgrad or a master's or any kind of qualification. Rather than researching the assignment, they check emails, they check social media, read blogs, and look after the next holiday destination. I've actually done that. The key to finding direction is identifying the activities that lead to success. For every goal, there are activities that pay off and there are those that don't. So you want to make a list of the activities and arrange them based on results to make an action plan that focuses on activities to lead to big returns. So to continue the example I've just mentioned with the nursing student, their action list might look like research articles for 45 minutes, then write content of 1 paragraph. I actually teach at university, and I often tell my students to break a 2,500 word assignment down to paragraphs. 200, 300, 400 words is much more doable and a much more simple task than looking at the entire assignment. So for here, we want to write just 1 paragraph. Then you might like to take a break, go for a quick walk around the block or have a coffee, and then the student will come back and write the second paragraph. Again, just another 200, 300, 400 words. Then set time to answer emails, and then allow a 15-minute time to check your social media and put the timer on. I'm going to go through a way to be able to do that. So keeping track of your most important tasks will direct your energy towards success. Without a constant reminder, it's easy to waste entire days on filler activities like reading blogs, random web surfing, and checking your emails. And you know what? There are days in nursing when you are exhausted and you just need a filler day. But it's about planning a filler day and allowing to have a filler day, making sure that you then get back on track to your goals. So when my motivation starts to wane, I regain direction by creating a plan that contains 2 positive actions, just 2. The first one should be a small task you've been meaning to do, while the second could be something that's more for a long-term goal. I immediately do the smaller task. This creates positive momentum. After that, I take the first step towards achieving the long-term goal. And by doing this periodically, it gets me out of my slump and creates positive reinforcement and getting long-term plans moving. It is inevitable that you will encounter periods of low energy, bad luck, or occasional failure. And just remember though, failure is only feedback. What it means is what you have tried didn't work in the current situation. It means you need to try something different to get it to succeed. If you don't discipline your mind, these minor speed humps can turn into mental monsters. By being on guard against the 3 motivation killers, you can preserve your motivation and you can keep propelling yourself for success. So now we're actually going to be looking at 5, that should say 5 steps to motivate your motivation. I have taken 1 out, just that I was quite conscious of time. So first of all, we're going to be looking at being health conscious. So far we have covered where the theory of motivation and emotional intelligence has developed from. We've looked at definitions and why is it important on a day-to-day basis. And we've also looked at the biggest motivation killers and to be aware of them. So what we're going to do now is just look at some practical steps that you can take today, right today, to give you a much needed boost towards your bigger aspirations. So the first one, as I said, is being health conscious. Your motivation will be high if you get enough sleep, take required vitamins or regular exercise, and it's easy to perform your tasks if you're feeling vibrant and healthy, and food is food and that's it. Food is not comfort or reward or happiness or purpose or love or any other emotion. It is the building block for our body and our brain. And all I'm saying here is just take a moment to be aware. Being aware of your health. I am not a dietitian, I am not a sports physiologist. I'm just letting you know we need to be aware of our health conscious state. The second one is about making plans of action and to focus on the future. And you can see up there I've put the word SMART, and I'm going to describe that for you. So what we'd need to do is to spend some time writing down things that you'd like to do. Set your course of action and identify what is most important to you. And I like to use the SMART way of goal setting. You may have heard of it, it's been around a long time. And of course, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. So what you want to make sure is for every goal that you have, that you want to make sure it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and that it can be done in a certain time period. So make sure your focus is on what you want and not what you don't want. Make sure that your goal is totally compelling and exciting and that you can move towards it. So as I said earlier, nurses tend to really look at what we don't want. What we need to do now is actually allow ourselves, through self-care and wellness, to be able to look at what we do want, and we want to move towards it. We want to make the why big enough to move. Make sure you use all your senses when you are painting this picture. So you need to, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you saying to yourself, and what can you hear? You need to enjoy imagining this very moment for that goal every day until you reach the destination. It needs to be very clear, so you can write it down if you need to. When I first learned about SMART goals, about painting them clear and bright and specific, it's probably 2-3 years ago, I did not understand the importance of taking the time to strategize and to make the time for goal setting. It's only been in the last year or 18 months that I've actually really appreciated what a SMART goal is about. I thought I knew about goal setting, and we've all heard about it, we've all done it over the years, but I thought I knew all about it. I now realise I needed to value my time much more highly and appreciate what that means on a day-to-day basis. So it's all about the self-care. So step 3 is a thing I like to call practice the 15-minute time rule. It's all about 15 minutes. So you need to give yourself a 15-minute time limit with a timer. So most of us have a timer on our watch or on our phones or on the oven. Doesn't matter where you get your timer from. What you need to do is that you need to have the option to stop when it goes off after 15 minutes. So what we do is we use this on our daily to-do things. This could be back to the analogy of the study. Give yourself 15 minutes to do it. It could be working on some sort of professional development. It could be working on a project. It could even be working on your ironing, believe it or not. Slowly you'll realise that you're beginning to develop an interest in the task when the time expires. So you can choose to either keep working on it or you've done your 15 minutes. You can use this with your daily planned actions, and I'm sure there are some that are much more enjoyable than others. When I'm doing my masters, and I can recall a time that I had high motivation at the beginning of the year, I had high expectations and a plan on how I was going to manage the 4 to 8 hours of study each week. Easy, what's 4 hours? I can fit that in easily. And the course is a trimester subject, which means that the actual time for the subject is shorter than, say, a full semester. So even though I had great plans, I did not follow what I'm telling you today. And you guessed it, I had a mad dash to complete this subject. Hours spent late into the night, night after night, with the assignment being handed in about a week late. It cost me physically, it cost my family, as I looked like I had a laptop stuck to my body for about a week and a half. I have 5 boys, so we all suffered because of my procrastination. So looking back, I really needed especially steps 2 and 3 to get me through that time, because I needed to keep the momentum at a realistic pace. So not plan something which would be obviously be unrealistic, which is why we have realistic in our SMART goals, especially with this 15-minute rule in terms of getting the weekly preparation and study. So at least I now know how to get over the speed hump called procrastination, and I would hope that I'm going to be saving you a lot of time and heartache through my learning over the last few years. So step number 4, it's about breaking down those tasks we've been talking about into smaller components, and I like to use the 30-60-90 day plan here. And what it means is that you will be motivated if you do a task one step at a time. You can't look at a huge thing. So if we're going back to assignment writing, it could be back to something for work. If you're looking at it as a big picture, it can be quite overwhelming, so we need to break it down. And the reason why I've got a picture of an acorn is here is because we need to dispense with the all or none thinking by using the concept of some, which highlights what's working and what's not. What sends us down the chute of failure and despair and convinces us we should abandon a project or at least procrastinate on that project is finding one thing not going well and then jumping to the conclusion that the whole thing is shot. So what we need to do is think in parts. So when we're looking at an acorn, which obviously grows into a tree, we need to look at is the leaf of a tree or even a branch of a tree, if it gets damaged, does that mean the whole tree is gone? No, obviously not. So now we need to make sure we use the word some. Some things are working and some things are not. But you need to take note of both. Henry Ford famously quoted, "Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right." And what he means is that your beliefs will determine your results. If you believe you can, then you'll be driven to succeed, to overcome obstacles, and keep moving towards your goal no matter how many times you have to change what you're doing or how many times you plateau that you have to bust through. If, on the other hand, you believe that success is unlikely or impossible or even hard, then you'll accept anything remotely obstructive as evidence that you were right from the first place and you give up. I have done this I don't know how many times throughout my nursing career. I've started something, I've done it for a couple of weeks with gusto, 3 or 4 weeks into it, something goes wrong, I throw up my hands, it's all too hard, it doesn't work. And what I did was I didn't look at the whole picture, I looked at just a part. It was an all or none philosophy. So as a bonus for listening tonight and being on board, I'm happy to send you through my 30, 60, 90 day worksheet, and you can actually use it for your professional and your personal goals. If you'd like a copy of this worksheet and the instructions on how to use it, I'm going to pop my email up at the end. Please feel free to email me and I'm more than happy to send that information through to you. Just a little tool that I know works, so more than happy to share it with you. So step 5, to motivate your motivation, is all about looking after yourself and giving yourself enough time to motivate yourself. So at first people will ask you why you're doing it, but then later on they'll ask you how you did it because they'll obviously see that it works. So to keep yourself positive and confident that you'll accomplish your goal, do not compare yourself to others. Connect and continue on your journey. Utilize the Nurse Power community. That's what we're here for. And for those of you who are in the Nurse Power Power On group, you will certainly understand this point very well. I'm just noticing I've got a question that's just come up, and the question has been asked, where do I start? It's a very, very good question. So what I would recommend is you start with allowing yourself to sit and ponder, just like Winnie the Pooh, what you want to truly want to do today or next month or next year. You want to start by taking stock on how you do the 3 primary reasons for the loss of motivation. Look at how you're actually utilizing those 3 primary problems and putting them into a positive. You want to make sure that you make a decision to look after you through self-care. So to start off, just grab a pen and paper and start writing down your goals. Be really spontaneous and be really fun. It doesn't have to be really serious. It can be, going for a walk next week. It can be something small, it can be large. It doesn't matter what order they come out. It's all about being spontaneous and letting the thoughts just flow and be creative. Perhaps use the SMART goal setting technique here. I would recommend that you do, but initially just get your goals down. And I think that would be a really good place to start. And there's a lot of information that you're receiving tonight, and I'm very well aware that we don't want to become overwhelmed by the amount of information. So just start with just a small segment, as step 4 is, break it down into small components. Okay, we've got another question here. Where can I go to get more of this information? Well, I wasn't going to mention it tonight. However, we will be releasing some details in the next little while about more information that you can find. But we'll look at that more about that later. So what I would like you to do is to take a moment now, while you've got your pen and paper out, and to write down one positive step you're going to take right now for yourself. You can email it through to me. You could personal message me on Facebook if you like, or you can even post it on Facebook if you want to. It's whatever's right for you. But what I want you to do is to take the step of writing down one positive step you're going to take for yourself, because writing it down, you will see it and visualize it, and you'll actually give yourself some accountability, and you know what? It will happen. For those of you who are listening in your own time, you can still share this idea. Please email me. Please post it on Facebook, or even, or even just keep it to yourself. But please take a moment to write down, because what we want to do is we really want to build and support the Nurse Power community. There's not a lot of nurses. We're a dwindling breed, so we need to look after those of us who are still here and who are still working. We want to be able to give the best we can, and supporting each other is a great way to start through self-care and wellness. So I'm signing off for now. Thank you very much for attending our free session tonight. I trust you have enjoyed the learnings of motivation, of what it is and how important it is in the well-being of nurses and its positive effect on quality care at the bedside. We've covered the 3 motivation killers and what to look out for and how to minimise their effect. We went through the 5 steps to motivate your motivation through practical tips and actions that you can take right now in your nursing career. If you feel this session has directly contributed to your professional journey, please email me on this email address, bron@nursepower.com.au, and I'm more than happy to send through the certificate of attendance for your professional portfolio. If there's any other information that you've seen on the slides tonight, feel free, just give me a list. I don't mind at all. It's all about the support. So I'm more than happy to send you whatever information you'd like on anything that we've covered tonight. So I will look forward to sharing with you next month. I've had a couple of suggestions already for our topic for next month. One topic is about dealing with aggressive families, not necessarily patients, but their families, and how we nurses can actually deal with that. So that actually comes under resilience. So if you're interested in that topic, please feel free, or any other topic that you think would be relevant to your nursing practice, because believe you me, you will not be alone. So I look forward to sharing with you next month, again on our free monthly webinar. And most importantly, I'm really looking forward that you're going to be learning how to better yourself and be truly who you want to be. So thanks again for attending. It's great to have you here, and I look forward to talking to you next month. Bye for now.